So what are you guys been talking about?
Yeah, right. Well, we were just kind of setting up our day. You know, we just started this Business of Motorsports podcast, a series on the Dale Jr. Download. And so this is our second episode with you. We talked to Steve Loletta from 2311 a few weeks ago. And, you know, really just kind of diving in a layman's term on the business side of our motorsports industry, the one that we love so much. You know, talking to, it was fun to talk about the race operations and owning a team, and you know, obviously going to talk to you today about track ownership and just decision making, and you know, just really trying to give people a big picture look, you know, because we love this sport so much, right? And it's easy to say X was bad because of what, but maybe there's all these things that line up behind it to make sense of something that somebody can say, oh, well, that wasn't too bad. I realize what goes into this decision-making process, right?
Yes, I listened to the last one you guys had on with Steve. I thought it was really good, and I think I heard Dale say something about like diving into the licensing and merchandising world of NASCAR.
Oh, yeah. He wants to do that.
Wow, what a path that would be.
Are you coming back for that one? Are you coming back?
Gosh. We could. It's something.
On that
it's an expensive
one,
education.
On that one, I think we better sit down and do a lot of pre-planning.
That one is. Why is that such a robust topic in this sport? Why is the merchandising licensing such a thing? Why is Dale even asking for it?
Because it's an amazing story. I mean, the merchandise world of the sport. I mean, you know, it goes back to just selling T-shirts. Then it got to be big money, and then you know who gets what portion of the money.
All the Stockcast,
all that stuff, and it's really fascinating. It's really fascinating. I think it's a big part of the sport. I mean, like the diecast, we love them, right? You love the history to kind of commemorate your collection and everything, and old T-shirts and hats. I mean, when I was little, every race I go to, I'd want to get a pin and you know, put it on my hat. And get a new hat.
Hat pins.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, those are big.
I got a lot of those. I got a lot of Earnhardt ones of those.
Yeah, that's cool.
I would hope so.
Yeah, good stuff.
Yeah, it's fun to collect that stuff.
It is fun.
Yeah,
it is fun. Well, let's just jump in. So I'm ready to.
Let's jump in.
Yeah, jump in. You know, I want to start with just kind of learning a little bit about your background, you know, just for the listeners. I know you fairly well and know all the great things that you've been doing. But want to talk about, you know, just starting in your dad's company, the growth that you went through, the different positions, and really talk about how you got to the position that you're in today.
Sure. So like my first job?
You know, and it didn't have to be like detailed, but my curiosity about it is we're both raising 20-some-year-olds, right?
Yes.
Both of your children.
Yes.
My children. And in this world of immediate gratification, my curiosity about it is just looking back, same path for me, looking back through the 25, 30 years of the roles that you worked in and the things you learned. So kind of that standpoint.
I love that because I've been thinking a lot about it lately, and having, you know, kids that are out of college or coming out of college, and it's been hitting me. Like, I feel like I just got here not that long ago, and I know y'all do too. But and that kind of goes into this amazing, I feel like just an amazing blessing, an amazing gift that we get to work with people for so long. I mean, we've worked around each other. And so many people that I work with every day at the Speedway business, we've worked around each other for like 20 years, some 30 years. And what a huge, unusual thing. I mean, that doesn't happen, I don't think. So I think that's just such a cool thing. You know, for me, I started, when I started working in the summers, I didn't think that I was going to be in the racing business. I just thought, you know, I'm weed eating, I'm painting walls, I'm doing this labor, and maybe, you know, I'll go into finance or I'll go into medicine, and I had all sorts of ideas. But when I got into racing, it's really kind of this time when I fell in love with with just the smiles that fans have when they come to our events. And, that happens when you spend time in front of NASCAR fans and, monster truck fans and our dirt track fans, and see, that this sport, the business that we have, is as much theirs as it is ours. And it's because it's a point of passion, and what a privilege that is. And I think, we have this, duty to be good stewards of the sport. Mm-hmm. So, but of course, I didn't think a lot about that stuff early on. I just thought, everything was bigger than life. When I was coming out of college, I thought Dale Earnhardt was intimidating, and I thought that people like Darrell Waltrip and Kyle Petty and the King. I mean, all these amazing superstars were all bigger than life, and these events were amazing, and I just got to sort of hold on and see what happens. But I remind myself that I didn't have all the experience I had then that I have today. And so, the way that, 25-year-old, 26-year-old makes decisions today is just with that much experience. And we have all this benefit of hindsight. So it's important for us to remember, like, what was it like again when I was first starting, and how can I help plant some seeds, give some guidance to the younger generation that's now coming behind us, and make sure we properly pass the torch, over time, and give them as much insight as we can.
What was your first job? Not officially like painting walls or mowing grass. What was your first job in the business that actually, where you were now deciding that this is what you were going to be doing with your life?
Yeah.
You finance and medicine or anything is now.
So I came out of college, and I started to work at Charlotte Motor Speedway in the sales and marketing department, and I was just kind of a first-year sales associate, selling souvenir programs, selling contingency programs for, back then, all the little stickers on the side of the cars, kind of half of them were NASCAR oriented and about half were track oriented. So I went around and, would call the different companies, usually in the like engine world, anything mechanical. And, if you give us a sticker and you buy a souvenir program ad, and then you put up some money, like $2,000, $4,000, that can go to the winner and the second place car. And then I would go to the garage, and I'd get my list of teams that I needed to go visit, and my list of stickers and package. And right then, I would sign people up. Do you want to run this, Clevite sticker? Do you want to run this, not Unical because that was NASCAR, but all the different ones that we would sign up. And, you talk to the right person at every team and get them a sticker, or sometimes they'd say, no, we can't do that one because we've got a conflict. But so that was my first job, just selling sponsorships, and I was pretty good at it. And, I liked it. I liked working with all the people that I got to work with, and kept doing that. I'm
curious, talk about your relationship with your dad in that time period, growing up under, and I know you lost your dad, and I know that my dad and your dad, probably two peas in a pod if I'm going to have to guess.
Yeah.
But I've got my experience being introduced to the business world underneath my dad, where he wanted me to work, where he didn't want me to work, what he wanted me involved in, and just sort of then that kind of school of hard knocks stuff.
Sure.
So talk about that a little bit with your dad. I'm real curious to know how that worked.
Yeah, he wasn't really instructive as a boss or a dad. He just sort of led by example. So I worked around Humpy Wheeler a lot. I was working at the Speedway. My dad's office was in Charlotte, second floor at Town and Country Ford. So yeah, I didn't see my dad a ton. I saw Humpy more, and I saw a lady by the name of Jane Allen, who was just phenomenally impactful to me, Jim Duncan, and a lot of other, names that that I got to see on a regular basis and learned by I was soaking it up and just love to learn from all these people around me. But my dad had a great way of influencing by his actions, and probably one of the coolest things I can tell you, like for me, that made a huge impact on me is I was young, newly married, probably like a year out of college, and my rent check was bigger than my biweekly paycheck. I got out of balance, and
it's a problem.
It was a problem. It was a problem.
And 20-year-old mindset.
Yeah, I mean,
it's a problem, but it's not unlike any other examples that I think of. Yeah.
Well, and actually, it was a mortgage payment that I had, and I lived up here. My wife and I were married early, and this mortgage check was due, and everything was tight. And I, every month it was just catching up on me, and I thought, I can't believe they loaned me this much money. Like, who qualified me for this? It's crazy. And then so I eventually got up the courage to ask my dad for a raise, and he said, "Son, you can have a raise anytime you want. You just need to sell more." Isn't that great?
I love it.
At the
That's
time,
the perfect answer.
It really was. It was such a great answer, and I got to tell you, even though like it didn't make it easy, it took a load off of my shoulders that I don't know why. It just made me feel really good that my dad was saying, "Go make it happen."
Yeah,
well, you're in control. Maybe that's it. Like, hey, listen, you're in control of that. Yeah. You can actually get a raise. You can make more money. It's up to you. It's a responsibility.
Yeah, and I probably would have felt like a real loser if he had said, "Sure, how much do you need?"
Yeah.
And like, because that would have just sort of solidified me as the boss's son gets what he wants, and that's the typical thing
kind of
that you would expect.
Right? Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And it was really great that he said, "Go sell more," and that was such a great kind of realization for me. Made a huge impact on me. I never asked him for a raise after that. Wow. And it was really cool to have that. So. Yeah.
That leads me to want to ask him this question. I've wanted to ask this a long time, and it's very simple, Marcus. What is your business philosophy? We're getting to know you right now. What is your business philosophy?
Boy, I mean, it's hard to encapsulate it into one thing, but what comes to mind when you say that is, my dad always said, "Do the right thing." He taught us to inspect what we expect.
I love that.
Isn't that great?
Say it again. Inspect
what you expect.
Love that.
That's solid.
Do the right thing. Exceed expectations. Take care of teammates. Sell to sell again. Those are things that that kind of pumps through our blood in the business, and we always want to exceed expectations, and it doesn't matter who that is. It's a customer, it's a colleague, it's a vendor. We want to make a positive impression. And the other thing I think about a lot is that when it comes to my teammates that I work with, I want them to go home and have positive stories to tell about from work. Because you spend so much time around your coworkers. I mean, in most of your life, if you're working, most of your week is spent around your job. So I really want all my coworkers to feel positive about their job and be able to tell stories around the kitchen table about good things at work. I feel a burden and responsibility that should be the way it is. And for our fans, they entrust us with time and money. And you could go lots of other places, but our fans, the ones that come and watch your cars around the track, the ones that take time on television, the ones that come and buy a ticket and enjoy camping, tailgating, watching events, they give us their very precious time and money, and it's our responsibility to deliver. You know, and I mean, you don't get many vacations. I know I don't get many vacations, and you know, I want it to be a good one. And you know, I'm going to take my family, or I'm going to spend time with my friends. I want it to be good, and that's our charge as the host of the party, to make sure that we're delivering on all those details.
Yeah. So speaking of the host of the party, owner of, we counted 11 speedways.
Yeah.
And we have so much to unpack. Mike and I are so excited about this.
All
'Cause we just
right.
want to unpack a lot of different things just in terms of, you know, managing tracks and being that host of the party and talking about the fan experience. So, you know, one of the things, and this is just kind of me as a business owner, and my curiosity is, you know, how do you do what you just said? How do you get those positive experiences for your employees? Managing these relationships, managing your people, managing thousands of employees across 11 different locations, and then the other few businesses that you run as well.
Yeah. I think that, you know, you always hear like it's all about the people, and it really is. I think a great manager is also a great coach. I love studying, you know, great business stories, great business leaders, great coaches. You know, the ones that in college coaching, you know, people like Nick Saban create dynasties not by, you know, luck or happenstance. It takes, you know, coaching skill. And I think, you know, it's up to us as managers to cultivate great leaders in the company, taking care of people, you know, spending time. Time is such a huge element. I heard James Dobson is somebody I've listened to a lot over the years. He has he started Focus on the Family, and he always says kids spell love Time. And I think it's all of us, not just kids. It's humans. We all, you know, really have this connection by the time that we spend with other humans. And
So
you know,
true.
if we spend time with each other, we're gonna build more trust. We're gonna, you know, get a better connection. And I think, you know, for a team, that time is so key. And you know, respect, those sorts of things, to just build that team, and it goes, you know, from the top to the bottom, and all around.
All right, though. How many employees does SMI have?
So we have about 1,000.
Okay, about 1,000. We
Yeah.
got that right. All right. Let's take Junior Motorsports for a second. How many employees do we have here? About 100?
125.
Okay. Whether it's 125 employees or 1,000, how do you spend time with them?
That's true. It's true. So what I do, and we swell up to, we've got about 10,000 event time staff. So, you know, you think, and that's our biggest challenge, is how do we deliver the experience with a lot of temporary, you know, event time people. And so it starts with our core leadership group, and then our core, call it 1,000 people that come to work every day. And, you know, for me, I go out to the different properties when it's not race time. We have what we started a few years ago called listening tours. And so we spend time with our managers and with the team, and just hear from people, ask questions, see what's going on, giving everybody a chance to, you know, voice concerns and really encourage, you know, them to give us feedback. And we really want feedback.
Yeah.
Let us know. And we've been hearing some great feedback over the years we've been doing this. So that's been fun. I've also enjoyed, at times, I do sort of a secret shopper deal where I go, you know, undercover and just. Yeah, you do that as well?
She does all kinds of fun ideas.
I'm sure.
She does. I mean, she'll hide things in the shop. She'll you know, it's a big scavenger hunt some days. I mean,
fun.
I'm telling you, that she comes.
Yeah.
But all right, so you're doing secret shopper. You're dressing up.
Yeah. A few. So we haven't done it in a couple of years, I got to admit, but it's so much fun. Each of our general managers will, you know, go undercover, put on some glasses, wear, you know, regular, you know, clothes, no credential. book a ticket, book a camping site, do the whole thing just like we're a regular customer, and go and experience what it's like to be a fan at one of our other tracks. So that is such an enlightening thing. And one of the common thing that all of our managers have come back and said is, this is fun. Like, no
That's
wonder.
good.
Yeah, isn't that great?
That's great.
I mean, we learned some things, obviously that we can improve, but overall the message has been, this is really cool. I'm glad that we are kind of re-engaging as fans, and we realize that what we're doing is really fun.
That kind of leads me into the whole fan experience, because I mean, what you're describing already tells me part of your process about of going through, in today's world and the changing landscape of how we want to consume things, how we want to experience things as consumers. Talk a little bit about that in terms of how you create that experience, what you're looking for, how you define what a good experience is, how you keep up with those, that demand from a consumer and experiencing that at the track.
I think it's super important to get on our own 2 feet and go and, eat our own pizza, if you will. You got to experience the property on your own 2 feet. You can't just be in a car or a golf cart. You got to get out there and check it out. And the other thing that's super important is going to a lot of other events. And I go to a lot of other events. Our management team does, and we want to go and see what's happening out in the marketplace and just take it in.
So who does it right? Who does customer experience well, whether it's even in sports entertainment or even beyond sports entertainment?
Yeah. Well, one of the coolest events that I go to personally is the Kentucky Derby.
Oh, yes.
I think they do a great job. Props to Churchill Downs for what they deliver. It's a phenomenal experience that is better than I expected it to be. Different than I expected it to be. You always hear about Millionaires Row. Well, there's like Millionaires 10 rows, and then people, the ladies dress up with the dresses and the heels and the big hats. But that's even happening in the grandstand.
Oh, yeah.
Which is, I thought was
100%.
shocking.
Amazing, yeah.
So there's a little bit of everything there, and it's just really fun. And I've had a great time the times I've been. Would love to go back. I think that's really cool.
Yeah. Do you have an example? I have one that I think just when I went there, I was taken aback by the customer experience, that the efforts that they go to.
You talk about yours, and I'll think about
Disney. When I go to when I'm taking my kids to Disney. Listen, Disney can be a long, exhausting day. We all can agree on that, right? But they go out of their way, whether it's in the hotels, whether it's in the theme parks, whether it's in the restaurants, in the lines. Like one of the things that I went to Disney as a kid, once or twice maybe. Then when I go back, I can see so much efforts and improvements in the customer experience. For instance, if you have a ride that's in a long line, they created playgrounds and things for your kids, who are the most impatient people, and the ones that are going to dictate if you actually are having a fun time or not.
So while you're in line, they're entertaining you.
They're entertaining you, and it doesn't feel like a line.
Yeah.
Whether it's you're watching stuff on a monitor, or whether there's things to just distract. Like I can even see, I'm like, oh, that's funny. They're playing Jedi mind tricks on me. I'm distracted, and I'm not even wanting to sit there and focus on the fact that, my feet hurt.
Yes.
I thought that's just like a remarkable thing. And I'm like, man, there's so many notes that we could take out of this and apply just at a NASCAR venue.
Yeah.
So what are some of the experiences that fans can expect this year? I mean, we're just in the throes of the beginning of the year.
Let me mention something about what Mike said. So I've been to Disney as well, and it is amazing. And so we have to look at Disney for ideas and inspiration, but it's a very different business model than what Speedways do.
Oh, of course.
Because you're open every day. You get tomorrow to make up for something, right? If you're fans, if you and your family are at Disney, even if you had planned on like checking out tomorrow, like they could add a night to your stay, no problem. They can, give you free food for the next meal, things like that you can still take with you as value for that stay. we don't get tomorrow.
No, that's
So that's
right.
a
Great
big
point.
big difference.
Wow.
And but I'll tell you another one that I love that's in the Disney world, but it's Pigeon Forge and going to Dollywood. Dollywood is. Have you guys been there?
I have,
Yes.
yes.
Isn't it awesome?
Yes.
I mean, I love what they do. I think it's so cool. To me, it was like easier to enjoy than Disney because it's just not quite as big. Our families had a great time going there many times, and they just always exceed expectations. I'm really, really impressed with what they do. They also don't have like the kind of the juggernaut of Disney behind them to help get that stuff done. They just kind of do it with really good thinking.
Yeah.
And I've always been impressed with that.
I'm so glad you said this in a follow-up thought, because that's not to suggest that Disney or any of these others are immune to critiques or bad experiences, even mistakes, all those things. But the opportunities to make up for them, they get way more of those.
Yeah.
They get way more mulligans than NASCAR tracks do,
Yeah.
or NASCAR teams for that matter.
Well, it's just sort of this option that you have and how to handle things. They do a lot of great things. I mean, it's impressive. But I always tell our team, like, hey, keep in mind, we don't get tomorrow. Everybody's gone. So it's got to be right this time. And that's, I know it's pressure, but it just is, it is the way it is.
It is what it is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right.
Yeah. You can't explain it any differently.
Nope.
Yeah.
Nope. It's got to be great. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this year, the coolest, biggest, most different thing we have going on is North Wilkesboro, and we have been, taking all sorts of care to keep the character and the history of the venue, while delivering on, all the necessities, the core elements of, plumbing and electricity and all those important things.
Let's go ahead and dive into Wilkesboro.
Yeah, I know. We were going
Let's
to
just
kind of
do this.
save it, but let's do it.
No,
Yeah,
we need
yeah,
to, because
yeah.
I think
Okay.
because Kelly and I are both curious. There's this guy named Dale Earnhardt Jr. that
Yes.
actually brings up Wilkesboro a good bit, and so we might as well educate ourselves on the progress and all that is going into the May events. Okay, and I'm saying
Yeah.
events. I don't
Yeah.
want to just say All-Star Race.
Oh, it's everything. It's the whole week.
All right, so
it's gonna be exciting.
So how much? You're not going to tell me how much you're spending on it, but give me an idea of how much investment, whether it's in time, money, whatever, that is going into that week.
Oh goodness. I mean, it's tens of millions, and we will. Oh my gosh, we're spending a lot to make the traffic better. And I got to say, here's the big thing for all the fans out there, and for everybody who works and is going to Wilkesboro. Buddy up. You don't have to be, one or two people a car. Most cars have at least 4 seats. It will make a huge difference. And the reason I'm saying that is because the average car that comes to one of our events has 2 people in it. So if we just get 4 people, we'll cut traffic in half.
Carpool, man.
Please,
That's it.
Yeah.
please. We've got shuttle bus opportunities, all those sorts of things. So it's going to be a big challenge, but we've brought in people from all over the country, traffic experts, the people, this guy named David Stetzer heads up our traffic management out of Las Vegas, and we handle 165,000 people a night there for this music festival we have called the Electric Daisy Carnival. David is the point person on that, does a phenomenal job. We can only fit 25,000 or so people at North Wilkesboro Speedway, so but it's no less challenge because there's not
It's a
as much
compact
infrastructure.
footprint. Yeah,
it's very
absolutely.
compact.
Yeah.
We have less than 100
Yeah.
acres to work with.
So I've been, on Facebook, just following along. Obviously, Terry Parsons, Benny's
Yes.
wife, Benny Parsons' wife, and I've just been seeing all these different things pop up on Facebook, and so about parking, and you have some great people in the area that are Team North Wilkesboro to bring this back to the economy, to the people of North Wilkesboro. And, talking about the parking, what you just said, I read a whole thing on it, and he may have been a council member of something that he was kind of explaining, because people were talking about, it's got to be expensive to do this, it's going to be expensive to do that. And talking about the shuttle buses I went there last year. I loved the feeling that I got when I drove up to North Wilkesboro last night. I cried tears last year because I spent my time as a kid in that infield, hanging on the wall, sitting in the back of a pickup truck, and just being there was very emotional for me. And so I want people to have that experience, and then not about parking their car, right?
Yeah.
And because you're creating such an opportunity and an experience there for people. So my point is that it there's so much to take in to put that together, right?
Yeah.
And the people that you have to work with, and the people that you are working with, and I've seen campground stuff pop up and new businesses are popping up even as a result of the economy and the people that are going to be coming in and things like that. Terry shares everything. She's so pro North Wilkesboro.
Follow Terry Parsons.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Because it's
great.
It's but keeping that balance of that nostalgic. We're coming back to.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's what we're really focused on: keeping the history, keeping the nostalgia. Respecting the past, and having that resto mod of a Speedway. I love resto mods. So it's
what's that mean?
That means an old car. I've got an old Bronco.
Okay, yeah,
It's got a new engine, new transmission, but it still looks old. And so I love that I get to keep the nostalgia. But at North Wilkesboro Speedway, we want you to have that same feeling, and the feelings are important, right? It's this joy that people in the community, people that love racing, are going to have, and seeing it reopened and having cup racing there. We're going to extensive lengths to try to make a big positive impact on the traffic in and out. And nobody's ever spent this much time or money on traffic management for North Wilkesboro before. It's just because we want to make an improvement, from what it was previously and what it was just this past summer for the revival. I just feel like we've got, we wouldn't be doing it the way we do it if we didn't make an improvement. So we've rented parking lots. We've brought in tons of shuttle buses and drivers, and so hopefully that's a big positive. Huge encouragement to people to come in early, because we're going to have full days of experience, Tuesday through Sunday. Finds campsites. So I think we might have a couple extra campsites. I think I saw something yesterday, just came on for sale, but I'm sure there are people around that are still selling campsites. So I highly recommend that if you can do it.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk though. Let's get specific here. That sounds like a long-term investment that you're making. Like, it doesn't sound like you wouldn't go spend tens of millions of dollars for 1 week. Is that fair to say?
That's fair to say. Yeah.
So what is the future for Wilkesboro? And I ask that also with a follow-up. How do you, once the honeymoon is over after this big event in May, how do you sustain the lifespan of Wilkesboro, and it doesn't end up suffering the same fate that it did before?
Sure. Yeah. Great question. Well, I got to say a huge thanks to all the fans and drivers and all the people associated who have been so positive, right? We've had nothing but positive reviews so far. That's amazing. That never happens. Last summer, the traffic was very congested, and people were so forgiving and so gracious, and how amazing is that? I think there is an expectation that we'll improve it, so we're going after that to make it even better. And then the follow-on, I think, I've said all along, Dale and I have talked about, this should be a place that hosts other events.
Yeah.
It's, other racing. I think the Cars Tour ought to go there, on a regular basis. And I don't know exactly what that looks like, but I think it's probably something that could be done. I think, other racing can happen there, but car shows and Christmas light shows and all sorts of special events. We're fielding calls, and we have been for months about events that people want to host there when we're done with the All-Star race in May. So it's exciting, and we have to continue to keep after it. We'll have a manager there on a regular basis that's managing the property, managing the schedule, and just working to make it as regular of a show place as it can be.
That's the answer. Is find other uses, not just races, but other uses to where it has purpose all year round.
And that's what we do at our other
that's what you've been
speedways.
doing. That's what I was going to say. Talk about some of those opportunities. I mean, obviously familiar with here at Charlotte, but talk about some of the things that you...
I think, it would be a great place to go for a music event. Having a music festival of some sort, having the Christmas light shows, maybe, we've got some experience of that at several of our speedways. I love, car shows and other forms of racing, and we can do a lot there, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, do you sense that, I don't even know if this is the right question, but it just occurred, does this feel like a bit of an audition on this May event? Does it feel like a bit of an audition to see if NASCAR will commit to coming back routinely?
Great question. I haven't thought about it that way. But,
Wouldn't that ultimately be wouldn't that be the ultimate response
cool.
or the ultimate outcome is that NASCAR's like, this is where we would want to put an event every year, whether it's the All-Star race or an actual points race, whatever.
Sure. Why not? If it's successful, I think you would follow that. I'm not saying that's what's going to happen because we haven't worked on the schedule for next year, but why not? It's I never thought we'd be here, frankly, saying we're going back
even
to
talking
Wilkesboro
about
Speedway.
Right?
Isn't it amazing that we're even having this conversation?
Yeah. Well, I was talking with...
At least you've gotten rid of all the social media comments of, when you going to clean up North Wilkesboro? Look how bad it looks.
Props to all those people for continuing to push.
I guess so.
when we were at Wilkesboro, we came back and talked about... In here, we talked about it a little bit, or maybe it was that day, and I remember you, Mike, saying, well, I see now, I know why you say it's not coming back, because it looked like it was dead and gone, like it wasn't coming back.
Well, when we went and weed eated the place to get it laser scanned for iRacing, that felt like a win. That felt like that's how the Wilkesboro story will continue, and whoever knew that was ever going to be possible. That's an amazing thing. And iRacing was going to make that possible. All they needed was a little bit of cleanup. And so we go clean it up. But then when we're there, I saw a garage that was collapsed, or half of it was collapsed. I saw, the suites or the press box areas that one of them was down already. Like I said, now I see that this is the only way it can survive.
Right.
I should have qualified it, though. Of course it could survive if the right amount of investment is put into it. But at that time, I didn't think it was possible without just completely tearing everything apart and then starting up and just building a new facility.
Yeah.
But you have managed to find the investment to do it and preserve it to where it is still the racetrack, just upgraded.
Well, it's really phenomenal, and it's a huge testament to I got to say a big thanks to the local officials and to the governor for their investment, support with us to help make it happen. Without that, we would not be able to make this happen. And then a huge thanks to our team led by Steve Swift that, when construction people, when my team says we can do it, I have full confidence knowing that they can do it. And that's such a cool thing for me.
Kelly, Kelly and I were talking, and I'm just going to say, when we were saying, I wonder if Marcus Smith ever turns off, right? I wonder if he's ever not selling. Even in his compliments, he's still selling, right?
Yeah. Here I am, aren't you glad you don't have to listen to those people? And you're like, thank God for those people.
Yeah, I don't mean selling in that you've got a bill of goods and you're trying to get people to actually invest. I'm just saying.
Looking at the good.
Yeah, the better way of saying is that you're always on, even if you're just selling satisfaction or time, selling yourself for your time or committing something. But I always find intention and purpose, and I think it's natural, by the way. I don't want to insinuate that you are making an effort to do this when otherwise you wouldn't be. I just think that one of the key ingredients that you have in the business world is that you're always on. Listen, Steve Letarte was in my office this morning. He was about to do our show, and he goes, "Here, I know what you should ask Marcus. How does he manage his schedule?" And I'm like, that's a great question. How does Marcus find the time to not just be where he needs to be, but always be on?
Yeah.
Wow.
You don't have a bad day. You never have. You don't ever look out of sorts. You don't ever have a bad hair day, Marcus.
Yeah.
What's the deal?
I don't know. I guess I'll take those days off, maybe. I don't know. I want to play more golf. I like to play more golf. I played 15 rounds last year. My goal is to play 20 rounds this year. I definitely need to be purposeful about some more balance. But when I get a weekend off, like this weekend is not one of our events, so my wife and I will do something fun, and we'll be able to have some hangout time.
Right, yeah.
It'll be unplugged, and I'll be wearing t-shirts and jeans and just.
I know, because you're the kind of person. I mean, you're working every day in the office, at the Speedway.
Well, I have a great job. I love my job, and I love the people I work with, and so the stuff I do is fun.
Yeah.
And but I do, Cassie and I, we've been watching Dallas lately, and she's way ahead of me. She's left me in the dust on watching all the all the.
She's not waiting around.
She's not, because it's addictive. But it's
and
fun.
because you can watch episode after episode after episode in one sitting.
But so we'll watch some Dallas together. We watch The Voice. That's always fun to watch. So we do that kind of stuff, and we go out to dinner. And but I try to have balance. That's really important. And I try to, but I love my job naturally. So that's probably part of my secret.
Yeah, at the racetrack at Millbridge, I was asked by some people that I see every week there, and they said, we want to come by and get one of your books. How often are you there at the shop? And I'm like, I'm there every day.
Yeah.
Every day, Monday through Friday, 8:30 to 5. You can pretty much find me here.
Yep.
I mean, I may be in a meeting, or I may be off-site doing something, or there's sometimes that I'm traveling. But it's a misconception that that we're not invested and here every single day.
Oh yeah.
Talking about North Wilkesboro and your question in terms of NASCAR, and is this a tryout? To see what things might look like in the future. I want to understand for myself a little bit, and for our listeners, kind of that process with NASCAR, track selection, moving events, because that seems to be, that can be a big topic, right? And change is not easy for people.
Mm-hmm.
So talk about that process and what it looks like, and what are the things that you're looking for when you have those discussions and you move a race from one track to another, et cetera.
Yeah. Over the last few years where we've seen more movement, lately, it's intentional, and like the idea to go to COTA was one of those things that it took a few years to finally get it done, but we're thinking about the markets and the possible changes, and sometimes change. Somebody said one time, and I love this quote, that nobody likes change, but nobody likes things to stay the same either, and so. And my dad used to say, "Don't worry, we're going to change so much, you're bound to like something." That's always a good one. I think that when we're looking along with NASCAR at the schedule and the market opportunities, new things don't always present themselves, but you always have to be looking. You always have to be considering, and huge props to NASCAR for the Clash going to the LA Coliseum. What a cool idea. Was really, excited about that when they first brought it up to us, and I think it was such a unique way to start the season off. So, that out of the box thinking, sort of putting the pressure on ourselves to do something that's not normal, not conventional. And that's the other thing that's kind of cool, is that it's sort of going back to the way NASCAR used to run. The first time my dad ever promoted a race, he was 17 years old, and he did a deal with the local fair board chairman who leased him the Charlotte Fairgrounds to host a race, and that's kind of like what's happening at the Coliseum in LA or what happened at COTA. You don't have to necessarily build a track. So the Chicago street course, I mean, that's a big push. It takes a lot of effort. It's a big risk, but it's a pretty cool thing from a kind of a market differentiator, and it delivers something new that, for us as fans, in my 30 plus years of being in the business, new markets tend to be a good thing for the sport, and that's part of the growth of the sport and kind of injecting some new excitement into things because we don't know what's going to happen and we want to see.
Yeah.
How much are you looking forward to Chicago then? Like just to see what happens, the Chicago street course?
Yeah, I'm on the edge of my seat.
Right.
I want to see what's going to happen.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, people talk about what they think is going to happen, but I don't know.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting.
But when you think about the challenges, does it even seem to... Yeah. Does it seem even overwhelming to you?
Yeah.
And you've had some big challenges.
It's a big challenge. There are other challenges that I would rather, go down, but I think this one is a big challenge. But it's a world-renowned city. I mean, the Chicago market is, Chicago is known throughout the world. So I think that's pretty interesting. I think it's just like Formula One wants to go to Las Vegas because Las Vegas is known throughout the world. It's a world destination. So it will be interesting to see how it comes off. That area where the track is set up is where big events happen in that city. So it should be really cool. I'm anticipating some excitement and controversy and good guys and bad guys, and somebody's going to win.
Yeah. I'm just sitting here thinking about my perspective as a fan, and you're talking about the Coliseum, because I personally fine idea, great idea, cool factor, the fan engagement and the ages and all the things that I've not been to the event, so I'm only seeing this from TV. From my standpoint, not my cup of tea, right? Mm-hmm. Like not the experience I would want to have.
Right.
But what's wrong with it being an experience that someone wants to have?
Yeah.
And providing that opportunity, right? Because, that's where I think sometimes we see the backlash or the negativeness on this change that we're talking about, But what's wrong with having a schedule that provides the opportunity for someone to enjoy NASCAR at some point during the year in their life, right? Yeah. Whether it's whatever kinds of tracks you want, right?
Yeah. Tens of thousands of people
a different way to think
are
about
out there.
It. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. What a different way to think about it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I don't have to love it.
That's kind of
there's 10 other places I love to go and watch races.
Absolutely.
Right?
That's kind of the way I felt about it. I was not a big fan of it before it actually happened. I thought, oh my gosh, it's too short. What a big difference. I mean, I was internally, I was thinking negatively about it. Then I got there and the light went off, and I saw all these fans that are, in the region that got to come live to their own hometown NASCAR event. And that's the way it is in Austin with Circuit of the Americas, bringing NASCAR to that area. It's a big deal. And I think that, once I saw, in the case of the Clash, once I saw it unveiled and kind of come to life, it was very exciting. So I went back this year too, had another great time. And in Austin, I think is another great market, and we'll see that happen. I think, I'm like I said before, I'm on the edge of my seat for Chicago. See what happens.
Yeah.
All right, I got a hypothetical for you.
Yep.
Kelly Earnhardt Miller gives you a call. She says, Marcus, Dale Jr. says he wants to buy a racetrack. I'm not talking about, SMI level, Charlotte Motor Speedway racetrack.
Sure.
I'm talking about local quarter-mile dirt track maybe even. But Kelly says, we bought it, and I just need 3 pieces. There's a lot of things that are going to factor into whether it's successful or not, but I need your top 3 suggestions on what Kelly and Dale can do to make sure that track has the best chance to succeed. What is your top 3 advice for Kelly and Dale?
My goodness. Wow.
Loaded questions.
Yeah.
Loaded questions.
Yeah.
What are the 3 areas that they got to focus on?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean.
Yeah. I mean, you have to have events. You have to have so you'd want to, in y'all's case, you'd want to have the Cars Tour there. You want to have events that people want to come to. But it's tough, and I think, you have to just have events that people want to come to, and it's and of course you got to watch your expenses. It's important.
What's the process for? Because I'm thinking about one of the answers is like people. Like, I mean, you got to be able. So what's the process of? Obviously, there's lots of ways to talk to NASCAR fans, but what do you guys do specifically through Speedway Motorsports for the new fan, for someone to come that's never came to a racetrack to experience?
Well, so
how do you sell them on it?
Sell people?
Yeah.
Well,
attract them.
So the Humpy always used to say that the 3 T's of Speedway operating, the 3 T's: tickets, traffic, and toilets.
Boom. How true is that?
Yeah. So these are like the core kind of things that you take for granted, but you got to make sure that the toilets work, you can sell the tickets, and you handle the traffic. Mm-hmm. So imagine you're having a party in your backyard.
Yeah. Same things I think about.
It's the
where
same.
They're going to the toilet.
Yeah.
What's the traffic on my carpet going to look like?
Where they park.
Where they're parking.
Right. How do you get the food there and all that stuff? So putting on a race, putting on a big event is just like having a really big event in your backyard.
Good
it's
analogy.
Just a lot bigger. And you got to have people that care. You want to, if you have a speedway or any kind of venue, you want to operate it as much as possible. But you have to have time to plan the event, have the event, and clean up after the event. So those are some limiting factors.
How much time to plan the event do you need?
Bigger the event, the more time you need.
Like
but like
months,
people say, like how long does
years.
it take to plan a wedding? I hear that takes like 6, 8 months maybe. Think about a big NASCAR event. I mean, the Olympics, a golf tournament. Those things take, from anywhere from a year to 3 years.
Yeah.
And I think when you have the benefit of hosting a big event year after year at the same place, you do have the benefit of, a common number of people that will come and help you, and on a temporary basis. You've got some core sponsors. You've got some knowledge of the venue itself. But when you go into a new place like NASCAR is doing with Chicago, and you're setting up there for the first time, and nobody around there has done it before, you really have to pull from all sorts of different sources. The local law enforcement, they sort of have done law enforcement, but now they're going to have to do it with this new barrier system and traffic management and the EMS and communications, all this stuff that it really throws a system, for a loop when you bring so many people to one spot.
Yeah.
What should Kelly and Dale look for in a general manager? What's the quality of a general manager that's going to be the best?
I think somebody who's great with details, somebody who likes to meet and greet people. Someone who's great with local officials.
Well, that rules LW out. He can't be the general manager. He's no good with officials.
Yeah. You might have to do it, Mike. You have to have a third job.
That's right. Well, that's good. Yeah. That tells us a lot about your mentality on how you manage racetracks. You see, I think that's why I ask. I think it's fascinating. You do rely on people, but if you get more granular, I'm curious on what kind of people you gravitate towards that you entrust to run major operations, major events.
We got the greatest management team. I'm so thankful for them and proud of them for what they do. Dealing with our vendors, dealing with governors and mayors and city and county councils, and helping to promote and put on events. It is a huge job that it takes special people. So I really, really have the most amazing team, and they do just such a phenomenal job.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. I've been able to witness Jessica, who is overseeing the North Wilkesboro project, right? And I don't know her official title these days, but
she's a Chief Experience Officer for Speedway Motorsports, and then she's also the director of the NASCAR All-Star race
weekend.
at
So
Wilkesboro.
I've seen that growth and that progress, like you're talking about with your people. I've witnessed that firsthand, just in terms of that investment and all that they have.
What is Jessica's last name?
Fickinger. Yeah. I wasn't going to try to say it.
Yes.
You said Fickinger?
Yeah,
Jessica
it's long.
Fickinger.
I just call her Jessica Fick.
Jess Fick. Fick. That's her.
Yeah.
That's
she
who
started as an intern.
Exactly.
Oh, wow. Is that right?
Yeah.
I remember the days of calling her up and like scheduling help to get to Marcus or whatever it was.
Schedule a meeting.
Schedule meetings. Yeah.
That's an amazing story.
And she's one of those people that is like done everything and will put herself in position to do anything.
Maybe Jessica Fick is who we get later on down in the Business of Motorsports episodes. After Wilkesboro, it'd be fantastic to talk to her.
Yeah. She's got great stories. Oh my goodness. She's the queen of Wilkes County. I mean, she and Terry are just a dynamic duo. And Jessica is doing it all. I'm really appreciate her.
Yeah, she's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
So with on our discussion with Steve, we talked a lot about the changing landscape of NASCAR and the charter system, and spend some time on the charter system and thinking through that, and there's going to be a new re-up of the charter agreement with NASCAR and the teams, this new TV contract, which completely affects you guys. And so I'm just curious, kind of your take on the changing landscape. What do you foresee? The relationship between tracks, teams, NASCAR, the fans, because it takes us all, and that collaboration of taking it all.
Right. Yeah, I think the biggest thing is that we have this kind of interwoven relationship with teams and drivers and speedways and NASCAR, and then you keep expanding it. It's the manufacturers and our sponsors and our broadcast partners. Very symbiotic relationship with the sport, and so when you look at just the teams and the speedways and NASCAR, there have been sort of ups and downs over the years. I think I feel like we're in a really great place and a growing position in the sport. We have been for the last few years, which is really good. And we don't have the big skirmishes around merchandising like we used to. I would like to get back to that, frankly, because it means things are growing even more.
Growing and healthy, right.
But I think this year it's been has been, I think, a good year of growth. I think more time spent with the various parties is really important, and something that I would love to see, more of. Just building trust, having FaceTime, helping to answer questions, because we literally all are in it together. And
literally one can't exist without the other. Literally. Right.
I think that's really the secret of how NASCAR did it better than all the other professional sports leagues for COVID. We all have this great balance of how things work, and we knew that we couldn't have a business if we didn't race. So when the world took a break in the middle of March in 2020, it didn't take us long to get up and start the virtual racing, and then having races with no fans there. I mean, we figured out pretty quick how to get back on television, how to get back in front of the fans, and make that happen, so that the wheels of this race car of a sport could start rolling again.
Yeah, kept spinning, right?
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
So okay, you bring up Kelly. You say we can't do this without each other. Boy, there's never been a more true statement. But a lot of times I hear, just fun debates and arguments, especially if they come from the driver's side, saying, well, they can't do it without the stars of the show.
Agree.
Well, but the stars of the show also can't do it unless they got a place to show their talents, right?
Well,
and nobody can do it without income, and that's where none of us could. Maybe the better question is, can you do it and have the same lifestyle that you want?
Right, yeah.
Well,
the thought process that went through my head as I was saying that is that, yeah, we can exist without each other, and the argument would be made, well, we'll just go take one part of it to somewhere else. Well, you take one part of it to somewhere else, you still need those other things, If you're the driver and you're like, okay, I'm going to go do my own thing. Well, you need a track, you need a race car, you need a team, you need a sanctioning body, or whatever it is, right?
Right, right. Yeah, you can break them all apart, and they don't
exist by themselves.
But they don't exist the same way with the same luxuries and everything else that we experience. So,
exactly.
I think that's why I say, the time spent in front of each other is such a valuable thing and an important thing, because, we all it's easy to point a finger, and particularly when you don't have a relationship, you don't have familiarity and trust, you can point a finger, you can complain, and you can easily say, like, man, there's a problem, right? And just point out the problem, but you don't have a solution, or you think you know a solution. It looks a lot easier than it really is. Nothing is as easy as you think it is. Nothing, right? And so I've been around long enough to know what happens when you start with a friendly fire situation. And y'all remember when IndyCar decided to kind of turn on themselves. IndyCar was the preeminent form of motorsports in the United States, and it was huge. That's where Mario Andretti was. That's where Emerson Fittipaldi was. That's where all the AJ Foyt. I mean, it was the form of motorsports in America, and everybody knew about IndyCar. But when I first started selling it, what I mentioned earlier, I had to explain to people what NASCAR was in the '90s. Like in the early '90s, I had to tell people, well, here's what NASCAR is. We're kind of like IndyCar, but we have full-size, full-bodied cars. I mean, that's where we were in the '90s. IndyCar was at the top of the heap. So, and then they kind of turned on themselves because everybody thought that they had the better plan, that somebody wasn't treating them right, and you had this lack of trust and arguments. I know Chip was in here yesterday maybe, and he told he knows all the stories. He was involved and knows it all too well, but that doesn't work well, and they're still recovering. They haven't recovered.
They haven't ascended back to where they were. They never did recover.
Not even close.
Nope.
Not even close. So all those things happen. It's very destructive, and it's very difficult to rebuild. So the great thing to do is learn from other people's mistakes. Kind of have conversation, build trust, figure out a way forward.
Then what can tracks do for drivers and race teams that can be improved? And then what can drivers and race teams do for tracks that can honestly all reach towards this same goal of not just avoiding a very public divorce like the Champ Car, IndyCar, kart situation happened, but thrive and make this sport absolutely healthy?
I mean, the number one thing we can do is grow the popularity of the sport, right? I mean, that's to have more engagement with fans, more fan avidity, growing the sport so that more people want to be close to the sport. More people want to take in media and information and merchandise.
Yeah, they want to consume it in so many different ways.
Absolutely. And it's so that really comes back to just the full fan avidity and engagement, more FaceTime with fans. I think that there's an opportunity. Like a lot of people I've heard, like kind of feel like, well, we're never going to get back to where we were. Well, why is that? Why did we ever get to where we were?
Yeah, why shouldn't we strive?
Yeah,
absolutely.
Why could we not get back to where we were?
Yeah.
Of course
Why
we
not?
could get back to where we were.
We can.
And so what were they doing back when the times were the best, when we hit our prime? What were they doing that contributed to that?
Well, that's a great question, because I love to think about, what were the best of times and what are the characteristics of the best of times?
Right.
And a lot of that is building the connection between the driver and the fans. And it's It's that connection that creates what I saw was a bigger than life persona from the drivers to the fans.
Yeah.
And just that's how we got to be known as the most accessible, sport in the world, built the most fan loyalty in the world. And, those are things you can never, ever take for granted. You can't stop building any of that stuff. You can never stop building a business. You can never stop building anything because, life doesn't stop.
Yeah.
You gotta enjoy the climb because it never ends. You just gotta keep pushing and keep working on the sport, which is part of the business, and the fan connection. So when you look way back, I mean, there's everything from the glory days of when the King, Richard Petty, would sign autographs for hours and hours. Jeff Gordon and Dale Earnhardt and Darrell Waltrip and Rusty Wallace, they're all out there engaging with fans, sponsors. Those are important things. I remember, every week, drivers would go to dealerships that were around a track, so that and sign autographs, and that's how you got your cars for the driver and team to drive around, right?
Yep.
I mean, Chevy didn't just send cars to every track around the country. The local dealers.
When I worked for an agency,
this is how the drivers got their getting around cars for the weekend.
Right.
So when I worked for an
brilliant.
agency,
Got to work for it.
Yep, I called the dealerships to set up
Yes.
those cars in the areas, and that's how you did it.
There you go.
That's how you did
Wow,
it.
why
I
did
it
they
for
get
my
away
dad.
from that?
Yeah.
That's such a brilliant idea.
Time, probably for a
You
lot
got
of
to go to
people,
the
right?
dealership
Yeah.
to get your get-around car for
Yeah.
the weekend.
I would love to see us get back to the also the race day stage. That Fox Sports
Kenny
used to have,
Wallace, yeah,
speed stage.
yeah,
At
speed
Bristol, we
stage.
did it. We got Kenny Wallace out there, John Roberts, and the fan connection. I mean, I've been trying to bring this back ever since it went away, because we used to have Friday night, Saturday night, and Sunday morning live on TV, driver connection, fan connection that really just builds this great relationship between our drivers and the fans and the events. It's something that we need more of, and I would love to see that happen at every race.
Yeah. Another Millbridge story, fresh on my mind. This one particular night, I was stopped by 3 different sets of race fans that were coming to experience the dirt race for the first time that night, because they were in town visiting. And so they had came to our shop, they came to RCR, whatnot. And, they're always nervous to stop you. I'm in my element watching my son race and whatnot, and that's the first thing they say, are you Kelly? I'm so nervous to talk to you, but I just want to tell you, how much I appreciate you, how much I appreciate your family or the shop. We had an amazing experience. You cannot take those connections for granted. I could easily walk by, not make contact with people. I walk by every single person. I say hello. I don't care who you are. I don't care where I am.
Yeah.
People think I'm crazy. Half of them don't talk back. But you cannot not make those connections. And they'll say to me, I can't believe you're standing here talking to me. I can't believe I got this opportunity to talk to you. And I'm thinking to myself, why wouldn't I make myself available for that? You are the reason that we are all here, the reason that we exist. You keep talking about connections. That just is resonating with me so much. I'm thinking about the things in my life of where that's so impactful.
Well, and think about how many people are those people telling.
Yeah.
It's not a one-time impact. So I tell people that, you got impressions, right? In advertising, you get an impression if you see a logo. Well, when you see, when a fan can see your eyeballs, that's like a platinum level impression, and it gets passed along 1,000 times. So that one impact, they're going to tell 1,000 other people.
Yeah, multiplies.
That's the opportunity, I think, that, every time you or Dale or Mike or drivers will make that connection, take a selfie, sign an autograph, it gets passed along at least 1,000 times.
Yeah.
And that's the impression that people always say, boy, I got to meet Kelly. She's
Yeah.
such a nice person.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what a great thing that is.
Yeah.
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 Well, let's just address the elephant in the room then, because you have a dilemma with this, and that is you're trying to operate three major factions, all of which need each other: tracks, race teams and drivers, which I consider one, and then NASCAR, the entity. You're trying to all operate together with one unified goal. But then we open up a sports business journal, and we always see is that there's negotiations over TV media rights deals, and the teams want more of a slice. And by the way, Marcus, not sure if you noticed, they start going right at the racetracks about what your cut is, right? And and oh, by the way, hate to say it, NASCAR, but I know you only get 10% on paper, but we also know you own 12 racetracks. So like there's a lot of things, and so it's like how. I do want your opinion. I don't get a whole lot of opportunities to ask track presidents or track operators to advocate for yourselves in that discussion. I have Denny Hamlin on a podcast. I get to hear the race team and race owner side of it all the time.
Right.
And I appreciate that perspective from listen, race teams are going to need more money because the business model is a difficult business model. I don't think anybody would dispute that. It's not easy to chase this passion of racing, right? And make it your business and your life. So what is the track perspective on the TV revenue, which is being negotiated now, which would take effect in 2025? So the current TV deal, media rights deal, expires after next year. So these negotiations going on now. We know the RTA needs more, says they need more out of that slice, needs more of that revenue. The tracks get what I've seen, 65%. Advocate for yourself. Why do you need 65%?
Yeah. Well, I think you have a great point that you haven't heard. I don't think NASCAR or us Speedway owners and operators advocate for ourselves in the media like the teams have. And so I would love to have discussions with team owners and get specific on those things. I think what I would say is that it's not always what it seems. And so I'll tell you a little bit about the track ownership business. If you in fact, I think I was talking to you, Mike. I know I was talking to Dale about the Cars Tour and how a Speedway makes money. And if you take out the television, the way that an event is operated, you have revenue from tickets, you have revenue from concessions, and sometimes, not usually, sometimes you might charge for parking, but typically, that's admissions and a little bit on souvenirs and then concessions. And then back gate, meaning people that come in the back gate, and those are the competitors and friends of the competitors. Passes, right? Your pit passes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you put TV on top of that. You put sponsorship on top of that. Well, the venue needs to be able to pay the bills with the business operating that happens there, and NASCAR. Over the years, it used to be a portion of the purse was paid into by the track from tickets, and a portion was paid for sanction fees, and then we added the television on top of that. There are all those elements that kind of don't get spelled out or broken out, and so it's not really 65, 25, 10. And I don't want to get into the details because I'd rather do that,
face to face with the people that matter.
Yeah, in a good business discussion. But I think the short of it is, it's not that we're so far apart. I think we've got challenges, we've got opportunities, tremendous opportunities, and the sport has worked. It's not that it's always been easy, but it's worked for a long time with a business model that has proven to be, very sustainable over the years. And you guys know, think about all the people that have come into the sport as team owners, and they're not here anymore. Some are still here, some aren't. People would always say the best way to make $1 million, with a race team is to start with 10 million. Now they might say the best way to make, $1 million is start with 100 million. I don't know, but it's it has never been easy, and but I think the opportunity is there, and we got to work together to grow it, to build value, build sponsorship value, that builds sponsorship revenue, grow the gate, grow the fan base. That's good for all of us, and the more fans we grow in this sport, the better it is for everybody. And I think the more fun it is for our fans as well.
From what you know, how optimistic are you? I'll keep it broad like that on that this thing is going to get sorted out and everybody's going to be working on the same beat.
Yeah, I'm 100% optimistic. I'm an optimistic person. I think we have smart people in the sport, smart stakeholders and longtime friends. We'll get it worked out. I think it's really something that we just need to get together and be purposeful and have those good discussions to get things worked out.
Yeah, I'm writing down, so connection, it's my big word from this, and education. I mean, that, those discussions, educating people, not just in this situation, I'm just saying in general, right? There's so much lack of knowledge of knowing how things work and why decisions are made. I wrote down the car store. I'm learning a lot right now about
I bet. Sure.
About how it works,
Yeah.
and how our series goes into the racetracks and how we share revenue and what things look like, and I'm learning so much from Jack on that. I haven't ever had to think about it, and I've never wanted to think about it,
Sure.
right? I never,
Yeah.
So it's just that education and
Yeah.
all the moving parts, and I'm learning the lingo, back gate and
Right.
front gate. And
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
I could tell that you weren't sure where that was
I
going.
wasn't sure, but he went and explained
but
it. It's like, I'm like,
right.
yeah, of course
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think asking questions and educating ourselves on, each part of the puzzle, no matter what we're looking at, is just so important.
Yeah. I learned a big lesson when I was watching my son Graham drive Bandoleros a few years back. I learned, so at Summer Shootout at Charlotte Motor Speedway, where, that's a great place to learn about promoting and operating an event, because we run 10 Tuesday nights, Monday night practice, Tuesday night racing, and there's a big focus on the schedule, on things like bus races and mascot races and the pizza and the Coke and the fireworks. But you got to have a cadence, and you got to be on the clock. That's from a promoter's perspective. When I was dad, watching my little boy drive the Bandolero, I didn't care about any of that stuff. I didn't care what time it was. All I needed to know was, when is his next heat? Where does he need to be? And how's he running? That was a total tunnel vision for me. And I had this awakening, that, wow, I kind of understand why if you're associated with a race car, you don't get out and see any of this stuff. You
don't understand the wait for the bus.
And you don't need to.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, your job is, you're there to win a race.
Yeah.
And, it's a lot more fun when you're winning. But, it's interesting. And we were done with shootout night. We go to, cook out and get a burger and drive home. We'd smell like gas and oil and tires. And that was a great night.
I'm in the throes of that right now.
In the summertime,
Sounds
I'm
real
so
familiar.
much happier smelling like gasoline and oil than I am smelling like chlorine. I'm glad my kids didn't swim.
And your son actually runs the
U.S. Legend Cars.
Yeah,
right?
U.S. Legend Cars.
So
Is that right?
He's working over there in business development.
Graham.
So Graham sales and kind of working on the business with the guys over there. And it's so cool to see what's happening in the Legends car business. We ship 45% of all of our cars around the world. So
Wow.
Out of the U.S. People love Legends and Bandoleros, and We just need to, we're trying to get caught up on all the parts delay from, just the supply chain shortage, and I think we're close, but we're still working on it. Yeah.
Hey, before we move on past all this, because I think that I'm really kind of like informed by all of the Dale Jr. opinions that happen on the download every week.
Great
and
opinions.
one of the ones that always comes up, Marcus, this, is Dale Jr. is an expert on track repaves.
He is.
He knows when they're supposed to repave, when they're not repaved. Anything about repavements, you ask Dale Jr., he'll tell you about repaves.
Yep.
And the thing he loves about Wilkesboro is that it was not repaved.
That's right.
It was going to be repaved, or is going to, I think at one point, like it was.
It's his idea.
Thinking, right.
Yeah.
But then when that late model race happened last year, and I think the decision was like, hey, this track being worn out and old is actually the best racing product. Okay.
I love it.
So I got to ask you this question. You're here. How much does it cost to repave a track? And what are the there's an obvious answer to what are the signs? Well, if it starts to crack, but come on, there's got to be a more a lifespan approach.
Sure.
Like, what is the lifespan of a repave, and what are the implications of all these things, and what are you looking for? Because this, according to Dale, is a very important thing on the racing product.
It is. It's really fascinating. So years ago, the interest in a repaving of a track, or just paving the track, the goal was to get it to last for as long as possible, because it's expensive. It's millions of dollars. So we paved Charlotte Motor Speedway with this synthetic based asphalt. I think it was called Rossfalt, and it was the first track to be paved with this synthetic binder, and it turned out to be like a great investment if you want your track to be there as long as possible. Because previously, the regular asphalt, the sun shines down and Charlotte shines on turns 3 and 4, and it actually starts to move down the hill. And, that might produce character in the track, but then it also starts to degrade, and we know that's going to cost us more because we got to repave again. So, but fast forward to today, the way that we started thinking about repaves is really more focused on the quality of the racing, because I felt like we don't have time. We don't have 5 or 6 races to wait for the racing to be good again, because it's infamous how terrible the racing is at a racetrack after the first
pavement.
The first 4 or 5 races. It's always really challenging for a follow the leader kind of a race. So we re-looked at how we pave, and we totally threw out the book on all asphalt paving, concrete paving, because all that technology is going towards streets and parking lots, and we're paving a racetrack. So we need to think about what does it look like to pave a racetrack so that it can be more racy, more act more like an old track, and that's where we started to use different recipes for what goes into the track itself. How do you know it needs to be repaved? Well, after Atlanta, what we learned is we can use glue, basically it's sealer, and go in there and just literally go in every crack and crevice and glue it and get it back together, and let it sit for a while, and it will hold up for another race longer than you think it would, longer than anybody would ever go and try that. But because it produces more interesting racing, more competitive racing, that's what we chose to do. So at some point, Wilkesboro would need to be repaved. If it gets, some big chunks come out, or, the under the top surface becomes less stable, things like that, then you really got to go in, and the cost comes in with how much dirt work, how much work in the base are you going to have. And some people will just go in and do a top dressing. That's cheapest. It's also the least lasting. Some people will go in and take it all out, reprofile it, repipe it. You want to put in a lot of pipe and drain to get the water out. Weepers happen when you don't have enough drainage.
Yeah.
So in order to really repave a track properly, You got to take it all out, get down to the dirt, make sure you get all the pipes in there, all the drains, and then your base layer rocks and all the details that.
That's a lot of smart people. Whew.
It is, and then you have to get the right equipment, because you can't pave on a bank with just any equipment. So it's a specialized practice.
Wow.
Yeah.
See, you're gonna have to think about that. Well, you're gonna have to think about this when you own your track.
You might, yeah. I tell people that when if you have a golf course, you can add a par 3 without a lot of incremental cost because you already have all the equipment, the knowledge, and the people. But if you own a racetrack, you can add. We're working on a second track at one of our properties, and we can add another track and have that done pretty good because we have a lot of expertise and a lot of equipment, but when you start with one track and you got to care for it and take care of it, it's they take a lot of money.
Yeah.
Take a lot of time.
Speaking of adding tracks.
Yeah. Did he leak news just now? Did he break news?
No. Well, I think you mean like maybe something at one of your speedways, like
testing
Okay.
the track. Yeah.
You know how Charlotte has the dirt track and they have the little track out back, the little So,
Marcus is notorious for dropping a Marcus bomb, as we call him, on this show. So.
Yeah. So when I was talking to L-Dub about being on here together, he's like, he needs to build a dirt track for all these competitors that are showing up at Millbridge to race.
The quarter
like
midgets?
We need for our
micros
and
yes.
our micros and our outlaw carts and everything. Because I mean, last few weeks ago, 44 non-wing micros.
Wow.
At one of the events.
Wow.
And then 18 wing class. So you're talking about 60 some
No
cars
kidding.
just right there.
How often would y'all race if we built a dirt track for
so
you?
it's something we need to talk about. Well, they race 20 times. They probably race, I'm going to say 35 times a year.
Really?
Because we run
Holy
every
cow.
other week
during
the week, and then we run Saturday events. So
and
there's
how big of a track is that?
I think we're at 8th mile. Is 8th bigger than a 5th?
No.
Okay,
5th is
8th.
bigger. 8th mile.
8th is bigger than a 5th?
Yeah.
Then it's,
no,
other way.
8th is smaller.
It's 8th. Okay.
Yeah.
It's 8th then. 'Cause I always want to say a 5th or an 8th, but it's an 8th.
Okay.
But no, seriously, like it's something to think about.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of NASCAR competitors out there, a lot of racing people, period. Modified racers have their kids out there. Jonathan Davenport's kid's been running out there. Like there's just Lance DeWeese's kid's been running out there. Like there's a lot of opportunities. So
it's all dirt.
It's all dirt.
All dirt.
All dirt. Something
We need to look into that.
You can put a little thing in the middle of the big dirt track.
Yeah.
Listen,
about
I know
that.
this is going to be an ignorant question, but somebody out there is going to be wanting to know it, and so I'm asking it. Is it like, why would the dirt track? Is that just too big? That it's too big of a dirt track that Marcus already
for
has?
the types of cars.
For the types of cars you're talking about?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
But
May or may not. I don't know. I mean, some of the places that I've seen the legend cars running, they're running some big places, right? So may not. I don't know.
Yeah. No, I think there's something we could look into there.
Yeah.
I'll
it's food for thought for sure.
Yeah, I'll look into it. I've actually had many people mention that to me, and I do think that it would be really interesting. And we love being Charlotte Motor Speedway is a special place because it's right in the middle
of everything.
of everything NASCAR.
Yeah.
So
you don't got to go down into Charlotte. You're still
I want to revive our karting track too. I think that's going to be a lot of fun.
Now, which one you mean? Like, because there's a bunch of tracks actually when I think about Charlotte Motor Speedway, because and you've got the one in the infield there, but you've also got the Roval. You also got the one on the backstretch, right?
Yep.
Is that the one you're talking about just now? Or you
No,
said the karting track?
Well, so the
one
karting
outside the
track
tunnel?
is in the infield.
Okay.
And it's we've recently renovated it back to its original form, and it's really phenomenal. It's a world-class karting course.
Okay.
So I think I've had a lot of people say, "Boy, I wish you could open that up for people to drive on more, which would be fun." But I've had a lot of people ask about something for the micros and the quarter midgets. So I'll look into that.
What is that track considered on the backstretch that's outside the tunnel?
We always call that our 5th mile. Just because it's a 5th mile, but it's got some challenges. It's on landfill property, and so it keeps moving. It's
And
a real
that's the problem.
challenge.
Why?
Yeah.
Seems like there's something for the drivers to have to contend with.
It used to be
track.
my favorite track for a Legends car because it had just the right amount of banking. It's really fun, but turns 1 and 2 are now like 10 feet below where they ought to be. It's kind of a pain.
You know, I was kicked out of that track.
You
Nobody
were?
knows this except my wife. When I first moved to Charlotte, I was going to, this was 2002.
Okay, are you sure you want to tell the story? 'Cause you
Yeah, I
just said
don't
nobody
mind.
knows this but
Listen,
your wife.
Well, listen, if you're going to tell it with Marcus here. It's just fun. It's I'd never been in racing. I'd never been on an airplane. I'd never done anything. I get moved to Charlotte, and I'm off to Daytona the next day, which I've never been there. Speed Weeks has already started. I have one night. My apartment that I just moved into is just down the road from the Speedway. I am now in NASCAR heaven, right? I'm now in the sport, right? And I go over and I'm driving by Charlotte Motor Speedway, which I had been there as a fan just the year before at the All-Star race, the one where they dropped the green flag and it started raining and they all went into the turn and
yes.
started wrecking.
Oh man!
And then they allowed them to come out the backup cars. So I was there as a
Yes.
fan. I was just
That's a
graduated
fun
college,
night.
right?
Yeah.
So now, just a few months later, I'm about to start my career in the sport, and I said, "There's no gate that's keeping me out of that little track back there. I'm going to take my little Nissan.
Oh my gosh!
And I'm gonna go lay down a quick lap." I didn't know that there was a security guard in that gate or in that little hut.
Yeah,
They came out
That's
fast.
awesome.
But I'd like to think like
So did you get a half lap or what'd you get?
I got a couple laps, and I'd
bet.
like to feel like I still own the pole record there. I need somebody to have an official
funny.
thing. At
Oh
least
my
funny.
gosh.
in a four-car sedan, I have to have the quickest
I bet you
track
do.
speed.
record.
Right.
We need to put a plaque up for you.
I mean, I don't know, naming rights to the track at
For
some
sure.
point if you need.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I've heard so many stories about people doing stupid. That's not the dumbest thing, so I'm not
Thank
even
you.
going to put
Good.
that in stupid category. But there are some really, stupid stories that people have done when they snuck into a track, and I mean, so it's. I'm always really careful, even when I pull off. I don't even get on pit road without looking 4 or 5 times because you just never know if somebody's going to be flying down pit road.
Right.
And it could be, in the painting van, it could be somebody giving pace car rides. I mean, who knows? So I always check. And it's just because there are, people go full speed when they're at a racetrack.
Yeah, that was pretty dumb. I shouldn't have done that.
Yeah, it wasn't that bad. You didn't get caught.
It was
that-
at
that
night.
bad?
Yeah, that's not that
They
bad.
didn't throw you in jail?
Yeah.
No, I don't know. Do you have a
Sounds
Charlotte
really
Motor
fun.
Speedway jail that we don't know about? Like,
We do. We do. We also have the tubes underneath the track that move all the money.
Well, that's where you should have sent me.
That's right.
Send me
That's
to
right.
the jail so I can kind of break through like Shawshank Redemption and find the safe.
Yes.
All right, we derailed there. We need to get back on track here. What
Gosh.
else do we have with
Yeah.
Marcus we want to ask about?
Well, I mean, I was just really thinking about you. We've talked about North Wilkesboro, got such great stuff happening there. Your Bristol event over Easter weekend. You've got the Trucks on Dirt, Cup on Dirt. Got some great concerts there.
Oh, yeah.
Got some great concerts happening for North Wilkesboro too, if I'm not mistaken.
We do.
The rest of the year, what
Yeah.
else is there to look forward to?
Let's see. Coke 600. I'll predict we're going to
Always
sell
an
out.
amazing weekend.
got
Always an
predict-
amazing
sellout
weekend.
prediction.
I'm predicting a sellout. We're thankfully, thank you to all the fans out there that are coming to the Coke 600 again. It's going to be awesome. Can't wait. So if you don't have tickets yet, please
Better get 'em.
Please get them. They're going to be out very soon, based on all of our numbers. And I would say, like, to all the fans out there, bring friends to the track. I think it's way more fun when you bring friends, bring a new friend, bring a new fan to the track. I think that's just really part of being a NASCAR fan. We want to pass it on. Help.
There's no experience like the in-person experience.
There really
just
isn't. Yeah, there really isn't. I've got hockey friends that have taken me to hockey matches, and
Same.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's like I never would have thought it would be fun. But
I
it's-
never have
yeah.
been to a hockey game until maybe within the year of COVID, whenever they got started back, and I went to is it the Hurricanes in Raleigh?
Yep.
Had a ball,
Awesome.
and I've never cared about hockey.
Yeah.
Never cared about it.
Yeah.
It was so fun.
Yep. So the rest of the year ahead, I think we've got great things to look forward to. I'm really looking forward to seeing how the championship plays out. I can't believe I feel like we're almost to the halfway point, even though like we just started, but I feel like it's right down the
Won't take
street.
us long.
But we'll be working on next year's schedule. We've got to look forward to the Chicago Street Race. I think there's a lot going on that we've got to work on, and we'll be. I'm sure we'll have a lot to talk about between now and then, but a lot of good stuff.
Awesome stuff. Good stuff.
Oh, give our best to Cassie,
please,
the Graham, the whole family.
All right.
We
what about Butterbean, our little dog?
The doggies. Oh
yes.
Yeah. Well, that was understood.
3 little doggies.
Yeah,
right?
That's right.
3.
Butterbean, Peaches, and June.
Yes.
We have 3 dogs, and our daughter has a dog, and it's a great furry family. We have non-shedders, which I love. I mean, it's great.
Oh, dude.
Yeah.
That's game changer.
I have a golden
right
retriever, the number 1 shedder, I think.
Yes. However, the best behaved dog in the history of dogs.
Oh, yeah.
I find me another dog that does better than Zeus.
What's your golden's name?
Zeus.
Zeus. Yeah, all right. Yeah. I had one named Buddy growing up.
Buddy. So Zeus and Buddy were brothers, and lived in the same home. And we rescued Zeus because they ended up needing to just have one dog. So Buddy was his brother.
Yeah.
Okay. So leave us with this. What's the craziest thing that Cassie's had you do recently?
Oh my goodness.
I love this. What a great question.
Oh man. She'll ask me to. You take pictures, and you can follow her on Twitter, Instagram, see pictures. Usually she'll want me to come into one of her videos, and I stop fighting it.
Yeah, you have to. You have to.
Yeah. I can't think of a crazy thing lately, but she's
I honestly haven't seen her as much, with the microphones and the singing. And, which I know that she was recovering from something. The roller skates.
Lately she's been on roller skates.
She has. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know that I've seen them. And the way that our algorithms do on social, I could just be missing them. Right.
Yeah. Well, I tell you this.
She is just amazing.
Marcus cracked me up the other day because Dale Jr. came into the podcast and he sort of unloaded all his frustrations about his dealings with Isla that morning. She was throwing a tantrum. And Marcus is texting both of us, just loving it.
Oh yeah,
he's just loving it.
Oh yeah, I love it. Isn't it funny? Because you tell him too. I mean, both of y'all are like, yeah, that's parenting. I mean, it's great. It's great.
You gotta own those flawed moments, man. You gotta own them, right? Everybody's dealing with it.
What I love about it from my perspective is because we didn't have kids at the same time. So, I've raised mine, witnessed, been there, done that. He was the one standing over there going, I can't believe you didn't spank them. I can't believe you didn't do this. I can't believe you didn't do that. And now I get to watch, and listen. And he's like, I'm sorry I said all those things. And I just get to see, I think if we would have had kids at the same time, we'd have both been learning and not knowing what to say, do, or think, right? So it's so fun to watch from my perspective now.
It is fun. It is fun. I mean, you got to admit, I think I kind of forgot what it's like to have little kids.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm trying to remind myself that, my goodness, I mean, there's some years where you're just treading water.
Yeah.
And I used to always go to the fast food restaurants to get chicken nuggets, and now I never do. Yeah. But, I mean, we used to, plan the day. You got to go get lunch or go get dinner and all
everything
that stuff.
revolved around your kids doing planning all day long, logistics.
Yeah. Listen, Dale Jr. and Bill Lester were in my office just yesterday, and I said, guys, I got to go. I got a soccer game that I've got to be at, and I'm the team dad, and I got to.
There you go.
They're not going to get fed unless I bring the sandwiches. And it's I got to go. Bye.
Yes, those are good times.
It is good stuff.
Yeah, good times.
Way good stuff. Well.
Thank you, Marcus.
Appreciate y'all having me.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Appreciate you being here.
Enjoy talking with y'all.
Hey, if you like that video, like and comment below, and don't forget to subscribe so you'll never miss another piece of Dirty Mo Media content.